Hi, my name is Yan Yi, and I'm currently a PhD candidate from the University of Auckland, where I study the vocal learning ability of the most basal songbird. Vocal learning is the ability to incorporate the sounds around you into your own vocabulary. This is most studied in birds because there are around 11,000 species of them, and vocal learning evolved independently 3 times. And because birds are so diverse and inhabit almost every niche in nature and have somewhat structured songs, they allowed us to ponder why and how this trait evolved. This ability is most obvious when you examine juvenile birds trying to learn an adult song. Juveniles start with a rough voice, what we call the subsong. Then they get better and start exploring their vocal ability, a period called the plastic song. Finally, they remove unnecessary or meaningless elements from their song and achieve full adult song, or crystallization. But this is not the same for every species. For example, a short-lived bird with only one song to learn and is on a tight schedule to meet their potential mate may rush to finish their song training. To do that, they must have a strong brain template to tell them exactly what to learn. Complex vocal learners, on the other hand, may have evolved with virtually no limits at all, and they can learn as many songs as they want, whenever they want. That makes the vocal learning trait a wide spectrum. So, I went through over 1,000 papers on vocal learning, and I wanted to see how vocal development varies in different vocal learning birds. How can we quantify this spectrum? What I found was that we don't really have a good representation of species to do this. Finches and sparrows are studied a lot. In fact, half of the vocal development papers are on 2 species alone, the zebra finch and the white-crowned sparrow. The other half was on all other birds. This graph shows the total number of studies and the number of species with vocal development dates in birds, represented by the size of the circle. The groups of birds shown here on the left are the major vocal learning clades shaded in gray, from phylogenetically old birds at the bottom to the more derived ones at the top. I've also expanded the ossine songbirds into their superfamily lineages. They are the largest group of vocal learners. You may have guessed that the zebra finch belongs in this group. This next section of the graph shows in a bit more detail the number of species with data available in each vocal development phase. Notice again how more species are examined here. We ended up spending a lot of time on highly derived species and from a narrow geographic range. Unknowingly, we might have created biased generalizations and assumptions on vocal learning. From what we know, most birds begin their subsong when they're still with their parents. In other words, they are homeschooled. But the white-crowned sparrow student only begin their subsong when they start leaving their natal territory. And although most birds crystallize their song in the following spring, the zebra finch scholar is done with learning in their 2nd month of life. The Bengalese finch and the white-crowned sparrow start singing their subsongs at about the same time, but they have different dependency periods with their parents as a fledgling. What's more, some subossines that are all assumed to be non-vocal learners are showing the need to learn from adults to have a normal song. This all means that it is dangerous to use a single model species as an example to tell the whole story of vocal learning. Without enough comparisons, we potentially miss out on the different ways in which we can explain and predict this trait. What we need to do now is to keep documenting the vocal development patterns of birds, such as when the subsong starts and ends, when the plastic song starts and ends, when crystallization happens, and when the most critical learning period is. Most importantly, we need to do this for a wide range of species to cover the whole vocal learning spectrum. With this information, we could infer the vocal learning ability of birds that are rare or hard to find or simply impossible to rear in captivity. This might also allow us to detect primitive vocal learning abilities in other species that are assumed to be non-vocal learners. As part of my PhD, I will be documenting the vocal development of the most basal songbird, the New Zealand wren family, to see if they show some rudimentary form of vocal learning. This will all help us clarify some assumptions on the origin of vocal learning in birds. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions or ideas, Feel free to reach out and we would love to chat with you. Bye!